Yeah, sorry I didn't bring any samples with me. It looks delicious, doesn't it? My name's David Page. I brought my finance director along just in case any tricky questions come up on the finances. I have been in restaurants for 45 years. I was a cartographer for a year, and then I was a primary school teacher. Wasn't very good at either of those things, but I actually really enjoyed working in restaurants. And I started as a dishwasher at Pizza Express and became chairman about 25 years later. When I started at Pizza Express, there were about 8 stores, and we ended up with 300 in the UK and Ireland, and about 60 in 10 or 12 different national territories around the world. Never made it to the Southern Hemisphere. We were everywhere, really, with some success. Wholly owned was more successful at Pizza Express. Franchising was had lots of contractual issues, obviously. This is everything I say doesn't encourage you to buy any shares. That's what that page says. So we took Pizza Express. We took it onto the market main market in '93 with 23 company-owned units, and we were bought out 10 years later for valued at 42 million, and we were bought out for about 350 million about 10 years later. Then we set up a second business called Clapham House, our second iteration, but we were on AIM, and we built it up to 4 brands and about 120 restaurants we got to. We sold that to Nando's, the chicken people. And this is our third iteration of a public company, once again on AIM. We established a shell and put our own money in it. Didn't borrow any money from our bank, any bank. So it's cash shell. We went on the third market just before Michael Spencer bought it and changed all the rules. And so we had some money in a bank for about 18 months, and then the whole point of the company was to find concepts that were a good value for the customer, growth potential in the UK and abroad, and were at a defensive spend if any national economy turns down. We believe that if you can be under £15 a head, then there is some sort of defensive strategy versus a national downturn in the economy or a financial crisis. It's not just me, it's a team that built up Pizza Express, and then we built up a business called Gourmet Burger Kitchen. There's one in George Street, to about 60 around the UK. And Mr. Wong is the latest arrival, and he arrived 14 years ago. So we actually floated on AIM by way of a reverse into a business called The Real Greek and raised some money in 2014. And since 2014, we have grown restaurants and profits every year, every half year since then. And it's a rollout model. You buy a business that the customers like and is popular with the public, and you open more of them. It sounds simple, but employing people in a service industry is difficult and has become more difficult since Brexit. Our Italian business is 80% Italian employees, and our Greek business is 60% Greek employees, and they definitely were discouraged by the vote. But they've settled down a bit now, especially as we're getting some sort of point system, we think. We reinvest our profits in keeping the prices down. We are a high volume, low margin business, but because we're so popular and the product's so good, we actually have more customers per restaurant than our competitors. We serve about 2,100 people a week in the Italian pizza business. Oh, we've got one. We just opened one in South St Andrew Street before Christmas. Don't know whether anybody's been into it. It's called Franco Manca. Pizza Express, for instance, does about 1,400 customers a week. We do 2,100. The business was founded by a crazy Italian who has insisted that we've opened in Italy. So we've opened a Franco Manca on a very beautiful island north of Sicily, which is very successful, and it trades through the summer months. If anybody's been to the Aeolian Islands, it's like heaven on earth. It's like the Isle of Wight with sun. Oh, and without the people on the Isle of Wight. I know that because I used to have a house there. I was driven off. And so we have sourdough pizza, which has got no yeast in it, so it's much more digestible than one of these pizzas you buy in the supermarket. Sourdough means it's got a mother dough. The mother dough we use is 250 years old. Giuseppe stole it from a friend in Naples, and it's effectively a natural starter. So Franco Manca, you really don't get a choice at all. We just serve pizza. There is no choice, because we think that if you do one thing, you do it right. We won lots of awards, and we're opening around the UK, and we've just come to Scotland, and we'll go to Dublin. Dublin was the Republic was a very successful market for Pizza Express, and we currently are just starting to build number 52 in Mitchell Street in Glasgow, in the old Oddbins, if anybody knows that Oddbins. And we've opened 7 so far this year. We're targeting maybe 8 in this financial year, which ends at the end of March. And we've opened a couple of Greeks, which we'll come to in a minute. London, when you open a restaurant in London, it makes a lot of money if the brand is popular. But we have opened in Manchester, Birmingham and Leeds, and they've done very well in the last year. And we are carrying on opening in London, but we're expanding, as I say, throughout the UK. When you open a restaurant, in particular a Franco Manca, it costs about £650,000, and we expect an immediate, an average return on capital of 25%, which is what we achieve. The Greek, which we'll come to in a minute, costs a little bit more, but that's the capital expenditure on each restaurant. The Greek, we haven't really got anything north of Muswell Hill. It's about far as north as we go. But we're down on the south coast in England. Once again, the Greek chef runs the menu. As I say, we have 60% Greek staff. It's choice. You say 4 people order 7 or 8 meze, and people share, and the food is all prepared on the premises. So it's very popular with the public. The Greek actually turns over more money per site than Franco Manca, and is more profitable per site than Franco Manca. But we just don't think that the Real Greek has the penetration in the UK in terms of numbers of sites. We're currently at 51 Franco Manca, and we think we could probably go to 120 or 140. We're not sure the Greek will go to more than 35 in the UK. But there are possibilities abroad. I mean, as I said before, we opened both Pizza Express and GBK abroad, and we would take both brands abroad, and we are talking to and have talked to lots of people. Over the years, we've sort of pinched the best people. So at Pizza Express, we employed the best people. And then we went to our second business. We'd had an Indian business, a Greek business, hamburger business. We took the best people with them, and we've taken the best people into our third iteration of a restaurant company. Paid them better, give them lots of bonuses, make sure they're all shareholders. So 50% of the staff at least are shareholders in the business. The air conditioning guys own 3%, the builders own 3%, to make sure if anything goes wrong, when you bring them up, they come around running. We've got an option scheme for the higher management and directors, which is not fully utilised. Mintel, which is allegedly the oracle when it comes to casual dining in the UK, says all the numbers are on the up in our particular sector, especially Italian restaurants. I think the Greek sector is too small to actually have any analysis. In fact, Franco Manca's just come into this because it's 50 stores, so they're including Franco Manca in their reports. As I say, we've increased profits every year. We were a bit freaked out by Brexit in the challenge it threw up versus staff employment, the effect on the economy, and we had a poor 6-9 months after Brexit, where the economy sort of contracted. And eating out is based on people feeling secure, the house prices going up, and having a competent and confident government. And we didn't have any of those things for about 9 months, at least. And so people feel a bit insecure, and they just say they stop going out. Say they were going out 15 times a year, and they stop going out twice. It makes a material impact on a restaurant's turnover. So analysts are expecting over 70 million of turnover this year, and they're expecting about 8.5 of EBITDA this year for the full year. As I say, our full year is in end of March. Come on, Mr. Wong, can't you explain this? I mean, this is just gibberish. New accounting measure for retail premises means we've added on 60 million of value and then taken away 61 million. So, yeah, Mr. Wong, come on, you can explain this.
I'll quickly explain this.
Yeah.
So it's the first time we've had to recognise our leases on the balance sheets this year. Traditionally, we've signed leases between 15 to 25 years in length, with most of them with a right to renew. The shopping centre sites tend not to right to renew, but normally we would renew those. So what's the impact to the business is we've now got a right of use asset, about 64 million pounds worth of assets with a corresponding liability. What that's done to our numbers is actually we've doubled our EBITDA, so it's fantastic. We think we've done a really good job, but actually, in the the transaction in the real world, nothing has changed. It's purely an accounting transaction. So in the short term, what it has meant to our P&L is actually our EBITDA has improved significantly, but actually now we recognise a depreciation charge because we've got an asset that we need to write off over the length of the lease. And we have this notional interest charge that is much higher at the beginning because obviously we have a significant liability on the balance sheet that over time will reverse down.
A young estate with longer leases than we would have in 10 years' time.
That's right. So this is something new, but nothing has changed to our business. In fact, when we go on to the next slide, with our banking facilities, we do have debt in the business, about 1 times our EBITDA. And what the bank has been looking at over the last 5 years is actually a fixed charge cover. So historically, they've always looked at the fact that we're leveraged because of the leases that we have in our properties. And so therefore, actually in their eyes, again, even though there's an accounting change, there's no change to our underlying business at all, and no change in the way that they view our facilities. So our facilities currently, 15 million pounds with HSBC, that runs till 2021, and we're currently in the process of renewing that. They're very supportive of what we're doing, and they're quite willing to lend us more. However, we said after the Brexit vote that we would reduce the debt level, and that's exactly what we've done. So at the half year, we showed just under 9 million pounds of net debt, and we continue to hold it at that level. So 1 times EBITDA is really where we think it is a sensible place to be, while we still see some volatility in the eating out market. Should I do the next one?
Go on.
David mentioned that we slowed down the opening program when the Brexit vote happened.
I don't think I did actually, but
Well,
yeah, we
well,
did.
We did. And so what that gave us the opportunity to do was to look at what we needed to do to build the long-term success of the business. And one of the things we identified was the investment in the CRM platform, so customer relations. Historically, in the restaurant business, we relied on our restaurant managers to know who our regular customers are. They recognize, Joe Blogs who come in every single week, and we rely on that. What's changed over the last few years is, particularly because of immigration, is that staff churned a lot faster than they used to do. And finding a top quality staff member is much harder than it used to be for the sector than a few years ago. So what we've done is to bring together all the data that we hold and put in some new data sources in the business. So things like feedback systems, we put that in to pick up information from customers, how they felt, what they would like us to change in the long term. We picked up things like online reviews. So the biggest online review system now is actually Google. It used to be TripAdvisor, but now Google has changed the whole way the world looks at reviewing. And we are getting a lot more data points from that, so we're able to link that in with when the customer is coming through. Then we launched, back in October, a loyalty scheme for Franco Manca. It's a phone app, and each customer, it's a very simple system. You come in 6 times, buy a pizza each time, and you get the 7th free. It's very simple mechanics, so most of our customers are very happy to sign up to this, and we've had over 60,000 sign-ups now, and slowly growing. What this does do for us is then we are able to look at these customers and understand what they've been doing in the restaurants. Historically, they would come and they would pay, they have a receipt, and that's the relationship. Now, with these customers, we can understand how often they're coming. It's now much more scientific than before. And what this does drive is actually, when you get to the 5th and the 6th stamp, that visit is faster than the 1st and 2nd. So we're seeing this lovely graph, and slowly it's improving. And it's a treadmill. We call it a treadmill internally, and it's
like a hamster.
And we've only had 3 months worth of data so far, and we're already seeing that improving over time. Now, what we do need to do is to keep on investing. With all of this technology, people, particularly consumers, are expecting new things every single year. And what we do recognize is once you've done the first card and you do the second card, at some point you get a little bit stale. So we will be bringing additional gamification, which allows us to segment the customer base and tailor the offer to particular subsegment. And we, particularly in Franco Manca, we over-index on customers aged between 18 and 35. The two different businesses we got, the profiles different. Franco Manca was younger, probably went to university, dresses in black a lot. And whereas the Real Greek is more family-orientated, older customer base and groups. So we're nearly. To sum up, we're trading well, and we had a great Christmas. January wasn't very good, and a couple of gales every weekend does affect the business. But we're very confident about opening new branches. We're putting in 8 new Franco Mancas, we believe, in the next financial year coming up 1st of April, and a couple of Greeks, perhaps. We're opening all around the UK. We will open more restaurants abroad over the next couple of years. We're talking to people in various different countries. As Nick says, we put in a loyalty program. Excuse me. We're still concentrating on value for money, making sure our food quality is kept up and improved, enhancing the menus all the time, having a menu launch 4 times a year in both businesses, putting in new dishes, increasing the support our staff get and trying to keep them longer and stop the churn of staff, which in our business is very high annually. To sum up, we are a profitable growing business with great prospects both in the UK and abroad. Thank you very much. Questions, please?
So I think there's a question just there at the back, and then maybe another one over here. Yes, sorry, it's over to you, gentlemen.
Hi there.
Hi.
You had explained earlier in your presentation that businesses you had before were bought out. Is this the plan for yourselves in the coming years, or?
Yeah, we thought we'd have been bought out, but Brexit has put a lot of M&A activity in the sector on hold, but also it's damaged the turnover of a lot of restaurant businesses. I mean, everybody, all the papers talk about oversupply in retail and restaurants, but I don't remember much about that before Brexit. You know, it has damaged the British public's sort of general confidence in the economy and as I said, the competence of government to get things right. And it's still there.
So that's basically what you're saying, Brexit delayed your plans or your
Yeah. And sort of you know, the sector is everybody who bought a restaurant business in 2007, 2008, 2009, or 2000, paid too much, and there's no exit. So we started organically, obviously, in 11 and 12, so we've been a bit more careful with our property. But they've always overpaid, so that there's no activity, M&A activity, really, in the sector. Saying that, Pret was bought by an American business, and there were a couple of other things that have happened. And somebody will come knocking, but nobody at the moment.
Thank you.
Thanks. And there was another question over here, I think.
Yeah, I'm quite interested to know about how you position your restaurants and how you protect them. I mean, quite a lot of the restaurant chains are struggling at the moment because they're basically in shopping centres or cinema complexes, and they use the footfall from there to populate the restaurants.
Yeah.
So do you have a strategy to combat that, given that the internet and Netflix is actually affecting these areas?
Yeah.
Can you get out of your leases? Say you got a 15-year lease and all of a sudden the shopping centre goes kerfunk. Can you get out quite easily?
No.
And the last question
is
how or where does a dark kitchen fit into a restaurant chain going forward?
Yeah, unfortunately, you've seen Intu's problems. You know, they try and get restaurant businesses in, and it's like two drunks leaning against lampposts, the retailers and the restaurants, because the Intu property portfolio property managers didn't manage to get in any decent operators. We're not in it. The only two shopping centres we're in are the two Westfields on either side of London, and we wouldn't. Also, we wouldn't go into them sort of not ethically, but. It's a bit grim because they are like an airport. They're in total control. Whereas if you lease something in a high street, like South St Andrews Street, you're sort of in charge of the property, and as long as you're paying the rent, the landlord leaves you alone. But these big airports or railway stations or shopping centres, they think they know what they're doing, but they don't. And I was talking to Nick earlier, even the Westfield Stratford, which is quite a successful shopping centre, I mean, they're having trouble filling their retail spaces, and you're right, you know, the footfall diminishes and our restaurants suffer. But we're only in two, and I'm not sure. We had terrible experiences in previous businesses about going in these new shopping centres in Poland, and before Poland was ready 20 years ago, and India before India was ready. And it is really dangerous to think that the centre knows what they're doing, the developer. Second question, I said no, you can't get out of a lease unless you give the landlord no money. It's a lease you sign up to. You can agree break clauses. You know, if the landlord's desperate, you say, I'm going to walk away at 5 or 10, and then you can decide whether you're going to walk away at 5 or 10, leaving all your capital expenditure there. But it's better than losing money. And we've tried dark kitchens, and they didn't really work for us. We tried it in 2 or 3 of the businesses.
Does that destroy your brand?
They just weren't very busy. I don't think it did destroy the brand. What do you think?
No, I think
Canary Wharf, we tried it.
I think the issue is everybody likes to eat at the usual times. Everybody wants to eat at 8 o'clock in the evening. So actually, for our product, we can't make enough of it at peak times because we make it by hand. It goes in the oven, the wood-fired oven, and it's cooked. So therefore, even for the delivery product, we do it fresh, and that's what sets us apart. And that actually is our Achilles heel in terms of dark kitchens, where we just can't get the throughput at peak times. They would like to tell you that actually they will change behavior and people will eat at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but that's not the case. Everybody still eats at 1 o'clock and 8 o'clock, whether it's delivered or in the restaurant. One thing just to add to David's response on the leases, one thing that does set us apart is with the leases that we take on, we tend to take a smaller space than a lot of our competitors. We would sort of naturally gravitate to 2,500 square feet, whereas many of our competitors would go for 3, 4, 5, and in Jamie's case, 6,000 square feet, where there's a lot of excess space that you can't use most days of the week. For us, we like a buzzing restaurant. It also attracts more customers to come in when they see a buzzing restaurant. And that means that our rent to turnover ratio is 3 or 4% less than the sort of average restaurant out there.
I don't know whether you know Covent Garden, but we opened a very successful Franco Manca in Maiden Lane. And then it was so successful, a site came up in Aldwych, which is 2 blocks east, both very busy now and opened. But then we opened one by the steps of St Paul's, which is another 3 blocks east of that, all very busy and very, very profitable from day one. So you can open small stalls and then, when they're successful, infill. The big mistake we made at Pizza Express, we got bigger and bigger and bigger. And so the West End Lane in Hampstead was a sort of very good example. It's now Waitrose, which shows you how big we got and what a mistake it was. It used to be a car showroom, and we'll fill it.
Excellent. Great. I think that's time up for questions, so thanks for that.